Hello and welcome to another fun edition of Clifton's Clicks, your Cliff Notes to the cosmos. As always, I am your host, Clifton, and I welcome you with so much love and respect, appreciation, gratitude for you watching and for my group, Sri Nityananda Paramashiva, and water, always the sponsor of the day. Delicious water makes the world go round. So, it's been a bit of time, and I want to thank you for all your feedback and all your questions. And today we're going to get into three core takeaways. And the feedback has been that the quick to the point segment has been a good evolution of this. So, as always, I'm mindful of your time and respectful of your attention. So, without further ado, we're going to get into bedtimes, showers in the morning. We're going to get into credit systems and low vibe ideas. And then we're going to end with human consciousness and a space program. So let's get into it. Great. So, one of the questions was about all around bed. Going to bed, what time is a good time to go to bed? What time is a good time to wake up? Should you shower beforehand? Should you not shower? Can you stay in bed? And this has been something that I have analyzed many different ways through the teachings of obviously Nityananda, but also of Tim Ferriss, of Dave Asprey, and a lot of these biohackers and do-it-yourself, quantified self people. I was one of the people back, I think, in 2010 or 11 that had you know, devices on my head that monitored my sleeping state. Now you can have it on like a ring, which is really cool technology. Yay, go advancement in technology. So all about sleep. Here's what I know about sleep, and then some of the fun things about sleep. So obviously sleep comes in stages. There's different types of sleep. There's light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep. And of course, we want that REM. That REM cycle is really what does a lot of great things for our brain. Sleep helps us go from short-term potentiation to long-term potentiation, which basically means it allows us to take things from our short-term memory and put them into our long-term memory and clear out more space for our short-term memory for the next day. And you can use this to your advantage to learn things, including taking naps. We'll get into that maybe in another time on how to really hack your sleep and naps to really up-level your remembering. But a lot of people do not have solid deep sleep and REM sleep stages. A lot of times they are in light sleep. And there are experts like Dave Asprey really goes into sleep and how you should have no noise, no light. It should be at a certain temperature, slightly chilly. Make sure that you have great oxygen flow because if you think about it, you're there for 4, 6, 8 hours. So you want to make sure that the air you're breathing is really pure, and oftentimes stuffiness because it's getting cold. Radiators and heaters can really remove that kind of beneficial air circulation for you. And so the number one thing I could say about sleep is make sure that you're getting air, you're getting fresh air, as clean air as possible. Air filters are an incredible thing. The other thing is our animalistic programming. If there are lights or sudden sounds, then our brains will constantly monitor that. And if there's any disturbance or bright light or quick sound, your brain will pick that up and figure out whether or not to wake you up or not. So that being said, 10:30 tends to be a really great time with our cycles because it's at that point in time, around 10:30, our brain goes and our biochemistry goes, are we going to be up any longer or should we sleep? I feel like sleeping, but if we still need food or if we're still not fully secure, I'll stimulate some more chemicals to keep us up for a few more hours. So if we can go to bed 9:45 to 10:30, that's the sweet spot. I know a lot of people that's a dream, especially with modern technology. I mean, if you think about it, before we had lights, we had candles, but before that, we went to bed when the sun went down. So we would be sleeping or close to sleeping, but not anymore. Also, remember blue lights actually disturb your melatonin production, your body's own production of melatonin. So remove yourself from watching TV, remove yourself from your phone, from your laptop. The worst thing to do is to go straight from looking at your phone to trying to fall asleep because your brain doesn't have the chemical support to make that transitory state. Um, Before midnight is also another fun golden rule. Sort of the grandma's wisdom is every hour of sleep before midnight equals 2 after midnight. That's great. There's also now genetic testing and people trying to normalize the fact that we all have different sleep schedules and say, are you a night owl or are you more like a grizzly bear? And so they kind of say early to bed people fall into one category, late to bed fall into another category. And they try to normalize this in society. Um, I don't necessarily think that I would agree with that, but it's one of those we're observing this is how society goes. So let me analyze that, classify it, and gain people's buy-in because it's kind of just normalizing what's happening, and it allows people to maintain homeostasis. Like they don't have to change their habits; they just get to like self-identify with a specific categorization to help justify and rationalize why they act and behave in a certain way. And it's really coddling society, so I'm definitely not an advocate of that. Um, Another one is human design, your personality type, right? So this is actually an important, interesting consideration. So for those of you who are not aware of human design, I encourage you to dive into it. It's a way of looking at our DNA as well as our astrology, and it's fused the two into a really incredible system that just helps break down an understanding of who we are in a greater sense. And so there are certain people who have what's called a defined sacral center. It's an energetic center, which means that they have to go and just do. They have this amount of energy every day that's restored in them that they just have to go and do whatever it is that energy has sent for them to do. And if they don't do that, if they haven't done what they've set out or what that energy level is for them to accomplish that day, they won't go to bed or they'll have a hard time going to bed. These are your generators, your manifesting generators, and your manifestors who just go, 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 and won't stop until, boom, that end of the day, they've accomplished everything, and then they'll go to sleep. So this is actually an interesting caveat that we're starting to get more multidimensional on, is that if you're having trouble sleeping, one of the things to think about beyond, making sure that you dim the lights. Oftentimes our lighting is really harsh, and it does the same prevention of our body's production of melatonin as if we were looking at a computer screen or TV. So make sure that the lights you have actually allow for transition into a nighttime mode. So even as funny as it might sound, getting a few candles and lighting candles and using that as your light and a very soft, or I guess the term is a warm light. There is energy efficiency that can be taken into consideration with some of these light bulbs, but a lot of those frequencies are very damaging for our health, very, very toxic for our health. And therefore, what's great is there's like Philips Go Light, and we have Delight here, which allows us to program what color and what intensity we want to have programmed. And so I encourage looking at those kinds of things to really set the environment, because if you're going with bright lights and trying to sleep, that's just as damaging, if not more, as if you're staring at a computer screen or your phone or TV. So make sure, and I encourage you to look at your lighting for that. What's fun is actually put on some candles. Make that your evening routine. And sometimes you have to wind down a bit to go to bed, right? It's not this go, 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 go. Okay, sleep. Although for some people that is possible, if you've been caffeinated all throughout the day, you're going to have some of that caffeine. If you drink that caffeine, after 4 p.m., there's still elements of that caffeine in your body that your body has to process that might challenge your ability to sleep. Of course, there's that biochemical side. Then there's the human design side with the defined sacral chakra, which is all about, have you done your tasks for today? And if you haven't, then you're programmed genetically to keep going until those tasks are done. If, however, you are undefined sacral chakra, which are things like projectors and reflectors, it's important for those people, I myself am a projector, to actually go to bed before they get tired, because they don't have that constant supply of energy restocking their bodies and their beings naturally. So projectors sometimes get so overstimulated by being around many manifestors and generators that they've picked up these habits of just go, 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 go until they've accomplished everything in their day. But that actually creates a compounding negative effect in them, in which they get overly exhausted. And so that's kind of the opposite side of people trying to fall asleep at the right time, is they may have trouble actually getting up because they've depleted their energy reserve so much that it's challenging for them to make that state shift into a waking state. So that's the human design aspect. And then now let's go into the more energetic vibrational state. So when you go to sleep, what you're doing from an energetic perspective is you are shifting your energy's resources and your vibrations to doing certain key functions within your body, including regulating your day's activities, your thoughts, digestion, etc. You're lowering your receptivity of your senses. There's still that animalistic autopilot of making sure that there's no harsh sounds or threats around. That will always go while you're asleep. But you're sort of slowing down the input of vibes into you, and you are focusing more on processing the vibes that are inside of you. And so this is really where it gets interesting, is from a computer standpoint, it is like we go on in a waking state with maybe 10 different programs running all at the same time. Things of like, am I safe? Am I fed? Am I warm? But also like, am I getting to my job on time? How is my kids doing? All these different programs are kind of open, running in our background. And when we sleep, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, let's consolidate all that and do incredible internal work. And so that's where it starts to shift in your sleep to entering into a different state, a state that you can actually connect with other people in. Just like we connect here in the waking state, you can actually connect with people in dream state. But for majority of people, what they're doing in dream state is doing intense inner reflection and inner work, consciously or subconsciously. And so there's something called yoga nidra, which is the conscious approach of doing work in your dream state. And so it's allowing you to take a higher level of consciousness to your dream state to do internal work and internal processing. And so what this processing is going back to the traumas that you've had in the past, the genetic code that's in your body to try to reconcile things, as well as they're solving or trying to solve circular logic in your being that creates these frustrating or upsetting energetically disturbing experiences. So dreams, for example, is if it's a nightmare, it could actually be pulling in the vibe of your inner space, also your outer space. I mean, what you consume right before you go to bed is going to impact your dream state. But also, if there's something from past life, from your karma, from basically your DNA, that is in you, your sleep state may be the state at which your consciousness is approaching it and addressing it. And then also, you can have a nightmare because other individuals in the dream state are attacking you. But outside of that kind of stuff, which does happen, the main point of sleep is to do that inner work. And so, what I encourage you to do is look up with Nityananda what yoga nidra is, because that brings higher consciousness into your sleep state. So as you sleep, you're not just getting recharged physically, but you're also doing spiritual inner work while you sleep. And oftentimes we have recurring dreams because we haven't actually solved the circular logic or removed, completed that trauma that is within us. So there's other fun things you can do with dream state, like you can have lucid dreaming, where you can kind of be in control of your journey. You can have crazy dreams that way, if you want. But it's another state. It's kind of like, okay, can you reach samadhi in waking state? Well, you can do lucid dreaming and dream state and have incredible fun there. But for the majority of people, it's like, how do I get better sleep? And so, of course, there's the wind up to sleep, right? The process to go to sleep. And I encourage a evening routine, 30 minutes before you go to bed. We kind of already do it, but it hasn't been as intentional, right? We might take our contacts off if we wear contacts. We scrub our teeth. We change into, comfortable clothes. So this is our evening routine, and these are all things and mechanisms to help direct us and tell us that we are going into a sleep state. So I encourage you to actually look at what your evening routine is and what you're doing to prepare yourself for sleep, and to make sure it is the most nourishing sleep, but also consider it, how can you make it the most healing sleep? And this is where yoga nidra comes, because when you do that healing in your sleep state, then your sleep becomes more restful. The number of circular arguments that your mind is running while it's in sleep state lessens. And so you actually, over time, can get less sleep and not need it. You don't actually require as much sleep as you would when you're doing a lot of this internal work that's within you. And so when you talk to people in ashrams and high functioning people in ashrams, they get 4 hours of sleep, maybe 4 to 6 hours of sleep, and they're confused as to why other people need more sleep. And one of the aspects is because they live in such a high vibe environment, and they've done so much inner work clearing, or have had that inner work cleared. They no longer utilize sleep to do that inner work healing process. So they don't need that much sleep, because the quality of sleep that they get, the REM, is much higher. They get more REM and less of the light sleep that most of us get. So there's that. So what's the correct number of hours for you? That's not an understanding that a blanket statement could apply to. What I will say is you can eventually get to no sleep, and you can function really well and perform optimally off of no sleep. 4 hours of sleep tends to be the good amount that you don't have to, it's just like when you eating and food, you can go near hara, which is where you drink liquids. You can also go off of just living off of the air and the ground. But that's such a much higher level of spiritual development in your lifestyle. It may not necessarily be your path. Same thing for going into getting no sleep. is 4 hours of sleep is probably the amount to aim for. If I can function really well, and that's the key, can you function really well between 4 and 6 hours of sleep, then I would say you're hitting the sweet spot. But 4 hours is really that goal. And it's 4 hours of quality sleep. And that's one of the things that I've learned. It's not just fighting it. And of course, there's laziness and the desire to sleep more. But the goal of 4 hours of sleep is not just to brag about it. The goal of 4 hours of sleep is it's a heuristic, it's a proxy for demonstrating the amount of purity of your inner work or of your inner space, that you don't require extra hours to do those circular logic, decompressing, the past life inner work, and things of that nature. So I would say 4 hours is the target, but don't get there because you feel you have to or because it's what successful people do. Think of it more as something that naturally occurs over time when you do deep inner work and you no longer have these circular arguments that your logic mind is trying to like chew over. And oftentimes they're chewing over certain situations that happened, or someone said something to you and you're really upset, or you're really worried or stressed about something. And so that's what's going on in your mind. When you do the inner work, you no longer have those manifested situations, or if you do, they don't affect you to the point where you're thinking about them constantly in your sleep. So what time to wake up? They talk about the Brahma Muhurti period, which is between 4 and 6 a.m. And this is the best time to really manifest the reality that you wish. And by all means, Nityananda goes into this far better and in far greater detail than I do. But what I will say from a vibrational awareness standpoint for me is you're doing a state of consciousness shift, right? You're shifting from sleep state to waking state. And so vibrationally, what that means is you're adjusting your vibrational frequency. You can measure your brain, and when you're in a sleep state, you have a specific stage of frequency. And when you wake up, you have a different stage of frequency. So what you have to do is you have to shift from one state to another state appropriately, and that's what's happening when you wake up. And of course, with adrenal fatigue, biochemically, you may have some challenges waking up because your body's like, no, I need to repair myself, or no, I have too much of alcohol in me, or I spent most of the night processing the alcohol that I drank in the wine, or processing the food that I ate, or processing the thought that I was thinking about. I haven't had enough time to repair my body. Outside of that, and outside of the sort of laziness that is associated with sleep, and we glorify sleep. We have these very plush beds, luxury linens, wonderful pillows, comfy, pajamas. We glorify it, but in reality, it's just putting us into a lesser state of consciousness, a sleep state, for an extended period of time. And so it should actually be less emphasized in our life and in society than I would say it is now, and it's being very glorified. So when you make that phase shift from sleeping to awake, you have to increase your vibe. Your vibration is actually shifted. And what Nityananda says is that like all your organs are in different places when you sleep. They just kind of like or another way of saying it is your vibe is all different across your body when you sleep. Your stomach may have been like metabolizing things or like trying to solve some internal issues while you've been sleeping. Your liver may have been trying to detox some stuff, but your colon is like totally fine. They're all in different states. You're not fully aligned when you wake up. And so as you wake up, you have to not just elevate your vibe, but you also have to start to orient all of your organs in your body and your being. And so this actually creates a challenge And what a lot of morning routines go for is to address all the different aspects of your beingness, to put you kind of back together, to make sure that your bowels are in line with your stomach, which is in line with your brain, which is in line with your body. And so that's why they, talk about making sure you exercise, get some movement, get some breath in you, do like a gratitude journal, visualize the day. These are all kind of like self-help light things for you to do. But from a vibrational state, what you have to do is you have to first elevate your vibe. You have to harmonize your body's vibe. And you have to get ready for the day. And so, one thing to think about is when everyone is trying to wake up at the same time, that's when it becomes even more challenging because all the consciousness that is embodied in us humans has been turned down, right? And then we're all trying to turn it back up again. So when we look at the collective consciousness, we're all trying to, at the same time, amplify our vibe. And so it becomes challenging to do so. And so that's why it may actually be easier to wake up at the Brahma Muhurti period or at an earlier time than when people normally wake up, between like 6 and 7. Because everyone's trying to turn their vibe up and get it together. And I liken it to a freeway. We're all kind of on this freeway of consciousness, all trying to wake up. But so we all get on the freeway to try to speed up, but now we have traffic, and we're kind of like that bumper-to-bumper traffic. And so it becomes much more frustrating, much more worrisome, and challenging. Where if you just woke up earlier, if you got on the freeway before everyone else, you were already up and ready to go as people were just getting on the freeway. So I encourage you to think of that metaphor as a justification and reason as to why waking up early is a good idea from a vibrational perspective, because you get on the freeway before everyone else does, and so you get off it before everyone else. You already made that vibrational shift before the traffic started. And then the final aspect I want to talk about sleep and waking up is your morning routine. And remember, with the vibrational awareness perspective, what you have to do is you have to prepare your body to hold the highest vibe, which means clear out all the junk that's in there, doing all that inner work. Then you have to actually elevate yourself and your vibe to get into a high vibrational state. And then you have to hold it. You have to ground that high vibration into your day-to-day life. And so when it goes towards morning routines, of course, you have the biohacking, the quantified self movement that have kind of talked about these different areas. But really, one of the best morning routines that I've seen out there from a vibrational state is what Nityananda talks about. He talks about first doing kriyas. So actually purifying your body, clearing your body of all the gross things that may have accumulated. So in your nose, so doing the neti pot, clearing whatever has come through that. Eyes, washing your eyes. You're doing an enema, clearing your bowels. And that actually is one of the most powerful ways to get rid of the junk, because you're literally physically getting rid of the junk. And then the next step is doing a very integrated, multidimensional form of yoga to put your body back together, make sure all the organs are on the same page, make sure that you're breathing properly. You do prana. You focus on your prana and breath during yoga. So making sure the breath is going, firing up your belly. And then that gets your container not just cleared, but ready to receive. And then doing something called puja is the most high vibrational thing I've found out there, which is the single most powerful way of elevating your vibe, which is doing the rituals. But it's from a vibrational state elevates you so incredibly powerfully. And so then the final thing you got to do is you got to ground that. And so a power manifestation or applying certain principles that are of the highest conscious level or highest vibe level is the next thing to do. So it's not just pulling all of this high vibe in your body and feeling good, which is a great way to start the day, but you've got to ground it. Otherwise, you'll be in a very spacey area or it'll just pass through you. And so that's where doing things like moving the coconut is really great, doing body scanning, or even doing like remote viewing, or meditating. Meditating from a higher space is a really nice entry into power manifesting. It's not the best, but it's a great start because now you're in a high vibe space. Now you get to think about what your day to day is going to be. You get to talk about maybe do a gratitude journal, or you can even plan out your day, and that's a great start. I would say, doing a power manifestation of like moving a coconut. You might, people say go exercise in the morning, go run in the morning, go move a coconut in the morning. And that'll solidify the high vibe into your being, and then plan out your day from that high vibe space. And that's a really powerful morning routine. And then the final point about sleep is when you wake up, how you wake up is really indicative of how your day is going to go. So if you wake up and you're kind of lethargic and you just kind of want to sleep a bit, or you hit the snooze button, it's kind of how that's exactly what you're programming into your consciousness about how you should go about your day. Kind of like, hesitant, resistant, not wanting to do it, being controlled by a machine is another thing. So one of the things is if you can get to the point where you're intentional with setting an alarm. I wrote a post on this back in the day. Set your alarm 1 minute after you want to wake up, and then commit yourself to say, I'm going to wake up at this time, and then wake up before your alarm. That is the best thing ever. So say you want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, or 6 o'clock in the morning, set your alarm for 6:01. So that way you start to practice consciously choosing when you're going to wake up rather than being controlled by a machine. And of course, we want more. Oftentimes, society wants more sleep than what people in society want more sleep than what they're allowed to with the lifestyle we live. But still, that's really key, powerful practice is to say, okay, I commit myself to wake up at 4 o'clock. My alarm is going to go off at 4:01. I want to beat my alarm clock and turn it off. And that is true mastery over entering into sleep state. And so that's great. On the other side is you have people who snooze all the time. Well, you're actually not getting the REM sleep you need or the restorative sleep you need. You're not getting any beneficial quality off of that. You're just simply wasting your time. And that's what you're essentially manifesting and creating for the rest of your day is just wasting time and being so resistant towards doing what it is that you need to do. Like, everyone's got to get up, right? Everyone's got to eat. Everyone's got to, do some form of work, right? It's just part of the day. So it's really what attitude do you want to apply to it? Is it one of those things where you're resistant and hesitant, or do you just go for it? Do you wake up and do it? Or you can also do it with love. Like, one of the incredible things is set your alarm for 2 minutes after you want to wake up, beat your alarm, wake up, and spend the first 1 minute just emanating, radiating just love and appreciation and gratitude, and then get up, right? You can do that too, and that's a very powerful tip and tidbit. So that's all about getting up and the morning routine. The final point is showers. Should you shower before bed? Should you shower after bed? Um, while I may not be this is one of the areas where I certainly may not practice what I preach. Think about it this way: you're about to lie in a single place for 4 to 6 hours or 8 hours. From a vibrational state, would you like to lie in that state in the highest vibe possible, or would you rather stay in a low vibe state for 4 to 6 hours? So a shower, which is great, especially if you use a specific energetic device on your water, is actually high vibe water, can actually elevate your vibe of your body before you go to sleep. Cleaning, getting rid of those toxins is very powerful right before you sleep. Also, doing a vibrational routine of going on a vibroacoustic sound lounge or looking at a specific subtle energy mandala to release the past and clear all of the negative vibes that you've exposed yourself to is a really powerful uh, methodology as well. So yes, I highly encourage showers before bed from high vibe water, and energetically cleaning yourself before you go to bed. And actually, one of the best things you can do is when you come home from work, is that's a really great time to do the neti pots and the eye washes and also wash your face. There's an incredible esthetician, I think is the term, um, out in Florida, who went to the Amazon and learned how the tribes people there made all their beauty products and create incredible face creams and washes, and learned all the science behind it all. It's called Nourish Organics. It's not Nourish, it's Nourish Organics. But anyway, she says it too. She says when you come home from work, you're carrying everything from work on your face, on your body. That is the best time to get out of it. And especially for people who work at hospitals, they know they've got all the grossness on them that they immediately come and take a shower and clean themselves. And that's a really powerful thing to do too, not just with your shower, but also do your kriyas, your neti pot and your eye wash, and then also vibe. Get on a sound lounge, clear your day, subtle energy, release the past, things of that nature, because you're creating that ritual before you go to bed. The best thing to do is to create the most high vibe state for yourself to enter into sleep state. So I would fully advocate for showering, cleanliness, and things of that nature before bed rather than after bed. So with that, we are at the 39-minute mark, and this has been actually a full rundown on evening routine, sleep, and waking. And so I'll stop it there. I do want to complete with you that the other two areas, I'll do a video right away to talk about them, but I want to keep this all about this one topic because it is quite hefty. So with this, I hope it was helpful. I appreciate you, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, much love, respect, gratitude, appreciation, and motivation. All right, have a great rest of your day.